This is Coach Cruz with College Football Today. I kind of wanted to cover over one of my process of filling up the rankings. Some of the things that we're doing is exactly what college football coaches are doing today, and which is why we're in the business of doing what we do. As I'm going through profiles, I'm looking at YouTube. I'm looking all social medias, Twitter's. 247. We go on their site. We get players. That's actually part of our step process. But what I want to talk about is what I go through and what's really important and how that relates to you as a recruit. And if you're trying to be found by these schools, you're trying to go through the process that I'm going through, which is looking for players. You have to be able to be found and again, that's actually part of our star rating, or the step rating that we have that produces your stars on our algorithm. I'll let Murph take over talking about that.
And the final number is what he's talking about. Like, you'll see 8.1097 when you calculate it all down. I'll go into that more now. I have it up here on College Football Today. And really, it's broken down into 10 categories. It comes down to the football combine, which everybody puts a lot of stock in. As you can see, that's what the Rivals camps are really all about. It's just combine stuff, and then they do some football drills, 7-on-7 and whatnot, and blah, blah, blah. So that's that portion. There's a lot of film out there of that during the spring and summer. You can see guys progressing, getting better, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of stuff, that goes into that, because then we broke the combine down into each section too. So bench press, 40, shuttle, it's down here a little further. I'll go into my combine chart. But then the second part is overall football skill. That's your game tape. That's what separates most guys in the process, is how they play on the football field in this algorithm. Because in the end, if guys are close, that's going to be the deciding factor in what I do right now. Prospect upside outlook. A lot of coaches will judge a 6'7", 330-pound kid as a high, grade on prospect outlook. You got to have a lot of different characteristics and variables for me to grade you high in that area, being that big. But because it progresses, he can get faster, he can get all this, but you can't teach size. So that's one thing. It can, equate to that. But at the same time, we look at everything, the work ethic that you have. Are you being social on Twitter, posting your workout videos, putting everything out there so the college coaches can see it immediately and find you? Stats, honors, and awards is the next category. That's really all conference, all state, all American. We actually are going to name all American team in each class over again, like we did last few years. We're going to do a little earlier this year for recruiting purposes for guys that deserve to be all Americans. And then media recruiting stock. That's the ones, the 247 guys, even 2022. Some of them don't have any huddle film yet, but they got a slew of offers. So they're ranked recruits. They've done something somewhere for a college coach to take notice of them and see really what's going on. I just ranked some kids I couldn't find any huddle on. They get on the list, get a good grade because they get a high recruiting stock grade. Media presence exposure. That's the next one that he was talking about mainly, was what he's doing right now to try and find recruits. There's over 1 million high school football players per year. And when you look at that, that's a lot of kids. So obviously there's going to be kids that go missed every year. And using this process, we're trying to identify those guys and rank them alongside top recruits too, because they deserve it. They can play at the same level. A lot of those guys over the years have ended up at the FCS D2 level and are dominating at those levels, and they'll get a shot in the NFL draft if you look at our list in a few years, that we've made this year. So you'll see a lot of FCS D2 guys go, probably not tonight in the first round, but definitely down the road here in the draft. So I really like Devlin Hodges from FCS, but we'll get into that later, from Sanford. The next thing here, home of Jay Stan, Bulldog. He's a real Bulldog running back. Intangible Crestview. Crestview, baby. I see you, Coots. I'll see you, Coots, later. Okay, intangibles. I gotta stay professional. Okay, intangibles. They Intangibles are a lot of things to me. For like linemen, hand placement perfect every time. You can tell he's a leader on the line. Looking for quarterbacks, obviously leadership's a big thing. Being in command of the huddle, you can tell a lot of that stuff on film. A lot of these guys film. Some you can't, some you can. And then Twitter, social media, you can tell a guy, character, see where he's at with his teammates. See, is he likable? Pretty much, heart, determination, all that stuff. So, courage, being able to come back. Doug Flutie, I mean, I compared Kyler Murray to him. People probably thought I was crazy. I mean, look at the two. It doesn't really make sense because, but you watch him play, Kyler throws the ball a heck of a lot better, and he has a lot of the same gritty characteristics that Doug Flutie had. Academics is our last category of the step ratings algorithm, holding players accountable to study, keep their grades up because it's going to affect you in the end. We've had some high academic kids rate out extremely well in this program, like Kyle Benedict last year, FCS kid. At Stenson, probably going to be president of the United States one day or governor of Florida. What are you saying?
I want to mention about touch on academics. Academics and the importance of it. You always hear from college coaches because there's reason for it. Academics provide other sources of scholarship for you. So if you can provide yourself a high academic scholarship, that's less that the football team has to come with. And that increases your chances of being offered by some of your state scholarship schools that are tight on budgets. So they can pull money from the education side to supplement. So it keeps their budget big and gets you a better team to play football on and win at that level. And you have these kids that get into spring football that graduate early. Those are kids that kick butt academically and found a way to get out of high school a semester early, get to these colleges that they're committed to, get a full spring practice, and next year when you're coming in fall, you're behind them. That's why they're starting in front of you. That's why they're maybe getting some playing time this next season while you're having to sit in red shirt. So I just want to touch on academics because it has that much of an importance, and that's why we weigh it as a factor on the step rating.
Well, in the end, you're going to college, and you made some very valid points, but and get the most out of it while you're there. They're getting a lot out of you as a football player. Get the most out of your education so you could take on and go do something else when you're done. Talk about the NFL draft in a minute. Only 3% or whatever, blah blah blah, get drafted, or 0.03 from high school. It's a very small, minute number, and you have to separate yourself that way too to get there. But in the work field and a lot of these high end jobs, you had that good degree. It's really easy to walk in and take the cake. So let's get back into the combine stuff. Speed, strength, agility, acceleration, vertical, broad jump, and then we have an average. And this was created over a year ago in Mississippi. So I'm refreshing my brain on all this stuff I use. I've been refreshing it as we're going through the rankings the last few days. It's been quite a joyride because I'm fixing some things and tweaking some things to make the numbers come out better for everybody, even the younger kids, 2022, 2023. This program is not about where you're at on the board. It's about just being on the board. Because if you're on that board, any given moment, you can be number one. And I've had guys do it, that ended up getting a pile of offers, that spiked their stuff at the top or just did tremendously on the field, really improved, showed a lot of growth, potential, stuff like that were in this program that panned out extremely well. Power 5 offers and stuff like that. That's the offer sheet algorithm I have. I'm looking at it right now. You can find it. It will be linked to this video at the bottom tonight on YouTube. But it has all of the numbers that we use for the D1 interest gets you increments. So any letters and stuff like that coming in, non-D1 offers. Miscellaneous interest is NAIA, JUCO, all of those teams gains you points. Any college football interest at all will gain you points in that category. The sad part about that category is some guys announce up to hundreds of offers a year. Some might have him, but I don't understand the logic on it because why would all once so many offer, at the D1 level, you don't get usually more at the lower level because they're not gonna shoot for the stars and miss every time. So I've had many D2 coaches and FCS coaches. That's why they start the recruiting process a little later down the road in January. They really start heating up, packing their bags and doing what they do. Obviously, teams like North Dakota State are ahead of the curve. They're like a D1 team themselves. They're a powerhouse. They had Albert in the other day, our top ATH recruit in 2020. We're going to talk more about those guys in this episode as well because he will be at our future recruit ranking camps. And then we have like Gabriel Means and Cervantes and Jared Pickens. All these guys have been getting offers and visits and gaining step points. We're going to try and improve their combine times, a lot of things like that through strategy, through physics, through learning our bodies, through a lot of things like that. But let's get into the rest of this. It's long, and there's just 28 sub-factors underneath this. But then you go into football skill, football IQ. Everybody can be judged on that by game tape very quickly, some of you. Versatility. How many positions do you play? Do you punt return? Do I see you at corner? I mean, anything you do you do it well? Can you be used at another position? A lot of things like that. Position/technique. That is obviously what it is. Your technique, hand placement for linemen, quarterbacks, throwing motion, real quick to determine wide receivers, eye placement, catching the ball properly with making the right window, soft hands, all those things, route running, all that's blended into that, right? So, and then motor. Your motor, how hard do you play? Do you take plays off? It's visible on film, even highlights if you take plays off. So a lineman, when you get a pancake block, do you sit there and beat them up, or do you get up and go get another guy and create more opportunities for your linebacker or your team? That's high motor guys, right? So, because guys can quit, after a job's done. And then awareness, it's pretty simple. Football awareness, or how aware are you of your surroundings? Are you able to pick up blocks as a fullback? Tight ends, do you block first before you release to the flat to create the opening for the quarterback? All those little things are bundled into awareness, right, when we watch film. So that's the film evaluation, a lot of that right there. There's even more into that.
On the film evaluation, I want to touch on this just because we see a lot of highlight videotapes that don't understand that first 30 seconds of your highlight tape. I need to drop my jaw. I need to be like, those need to be the best plays you've played that season in the first 30 seconds because a lot of coaches, when we're trying to go through 300 recruits, 1,000 recruits, people visiting our sites, putting in profiles, we're going through all those recruits. I don't have time to watch 15 minutes of highlight video of to then get to the part that is going to be like, wow, I need to get this kid on my roster. So just a strategy wise, something that we see on film as we're covering that topic. I just wanted to touch on that too.
Yeah, and that's a good point too, because it's hard to you want to keep the user engaged no matter who it is. So the beginning first 10 to 15 seconds should be the best of your best, what you did all season to keep them engaged for the rest of your highlights that you want them to see, because if they see something in the first few plays, the way you move, well, blah blah blah, they're gonna keep watching. And you gotta think about that as a top recruit. And then we break down the All-Americans, get more points, obviously, all state, all area, but you get points for everything if you make that team, because that's more media, more pub, more people able to find you on lists. Here's a deeper look into everything. The combine speed is measured in the 40-yard dash. We have combine sheets that were created that explain all of this. It's pretty in-depth. It goes by 0.25 to 6.75 increments on your 40 time, based on a 4.6 is this many points, a 4.65 is this many points. So you can literally improve by hundredths of a second and get more points in your 40 time. We have update profile forms that come in that tell us if 40 times got better or worse, but most of the time we want to hear it from a coach or that has tested you. a college coach that has tested you at a camp or at one of our camps before we like thoroughly give you those points and believe it, because 4.3s aren't hard to come by unless you're Derek Stingley, LSU commit from last year. The dude, like on tape, you could tell he ran a 4.2. He's like the next Dion. So best athlete I've seen in 2019. Honestly, the kid, and I'm not. Louisiana has some up and down recruits that sometimes I don't understand, but he was one of the best. And strength, measured by your weight room results, we have all of that in there. High is 14 to 20 points. You're lifting significantly or somewhat more pounds than average prospect of their respective size and age. So we even have that figured out, on what you should be lifting at what age as a top recruit. In power, we measure that the same way Rivals kind of does with the power ball. You can submit those to us. I like the power ball drill. I don't have a problem with it. The broad jump, that really measures lower body strength. That's why they use that in the NFL so much. And then the vertical jump we can use as well to gauge your lower body strength and leaping ability, stuff like that. And then we have and then you average all these categories together, and then it comes up with the end of rating, but we do that on Excel sheets. You'll learn that in college, and that's why you need to, do your thing with your education. Prospect, upside, outlook. This, I think, has changed since we first studied it. We might incorporate this, but, 10 points, all-time legend potential, NCAA football Heisman potential. We love the NCAA football video game. They need to bring it back. Academics. I wrote this back in the day that we already went over this. One major part of being an NCAA student athlete that is often overlooked but prominent in college football recruiting reporters, and even the recruits themselves, is the college admission process. It is more than just being eligible to play D1 college football. Prospects should be able to demonstrate that they are indeed college ready and qualify academically to attend and graduate from the university they are committed to play for. The value of the prospect's academics in their overall rating is equal to the sum of points earned by their GPA and test score, according to the guide below. Prospects who have not yet taken a standardized placement test or received their score will be judged solely by their GPA points. This is why you should study. If you get over a 4.0 or have a 4.5, like some of our guys have had, you get 6 points. So that's going to add. It doesn't add a lot in the end because you do got to play football, and it is football, but it adds. It's made guys 100 because guys are so tight. It's made guys go from 100 to 15 sometimes. So, because everybody was so competitive and good in that class, and some position categories are stacked better than the others right now. We use the NCAA sliding scale to determine a lot of this. This is used by the NCAA for eligibility reasons to determine if you're eligible or not. If you're not eligible to play and you're going JUCO, I've seen a lot of guys still rated number one over the years that we knew were going JUCO. And if they just wouldn't have been rated number one, they probably wouldn't have ended up in JUCO because of a psychology standpoint. So took a lot of days off, ate a lot of McDonald's. It's the top recruit life in high school in Mississippi or Texas. I've been there myself, and even in Jersey where I grew up. It can happen to all of us, and we don't want to fall in that complacency because the guys getting drafted did not fall into complacency. They always had a chip on their shoulder, like we're going to get into right now about the Kyler Murray out of Allen High School, Texas. Okay, we're back. NFL draft tonight, big night for a lot of guys. Kyler Murray was a big recruit coming out of high school. He had to fight through a lot of adversity. They say he's too tiny, too small, too this, too that. When you look at statistic-wise, what he was able to do was better than Baker Mayfield the year before that. And Baker really had a good, productive season with the Cleveland Browns, his rookie season. So if you put the pieces together, it's kind of like logic, like common sense, that he is going to be a very good NFL quarterback. Much better, I think, personally, than Josh Rosen. Even though I don't think Josh Rosen is done. I think he could get traded somewhere and really have a good, productive career as well. It just wasn't the right fit for him. I don't think he's the right fit for a Kingsbury offense either. But there's also been rumors of John Gruden trading up to get Kyler Murray in the first round with the Oakland Raiders, which would be awesome. Let's watch him and Antonio Brown play together, but who were just working out at Allen not that long ago when I was over there. And seeing it the way it is, they could just be doing that to really justify Cliff taking him number one, to show that like he could be better than Derek Carr. Blah 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 blah. Derek Carr is a phenomenal quarterback, but I mean, logically thinking as a GM, you look at the pieces you could get for all that. You could really build your team up in positions you really need, and then get Kyler Murray at the same time. There's a lot of good things that could happen there, and then you could see Derek Carr maybe in Arizona. And then Rosen getting shipped out of there because Derek Carr does really fit Cliff's system well. He has a quick release, gets the ball in his hand quick too. Both of those guys work for both teams. So, very interesting scenario coming out. Everybody's throwing out smoke clouds all over the place. You can kind of tell who's doing what, where, blah, blah, blah. Ed Oliver in the beginning of the season was number one, blah, blah, and then he's getting handled by Rice on the interior line. I think he's a great player, very athletic player. They always said it was about size. He's not that small. He's like 6'3", 285.
I really like the push he gets off the ball. I was a little bit. I kind of thought he might go a little bit higher than Murph did originally in the draft, just because I don't think he's as overrated, but
he might have just had a bad game against Rice too, or a few bad plays, and I caught it. So I mean.
Yeah, so
everybody has bad days.
A little bit different, and a little different. So
I think he's better than Nick Bosa, and that's where I think he's at. I think he's a really good D tackle. Do I think he's the next Aaron Donald? No, not yet. Could he be? He's got a lot of speed for a big man. He's got a lot of quickness. His push is good when he gets off the ball, though. Right when guys can't get his hands on him. Needs to work on little things like that. He could become a dominant, he could be the next Reggie White. You don't know. So it really comes down to little things, building, progressing, and that's what the STEP program is about. But it was developed watching the NFL Senior Bowl the last 3-4 years, how they interact, how the coaches interact with the players, how everything's done. Yeah, I might have been goofy a lot of times, but I was learning the whole time, figuring out things. But I work with high school kids for the main part the last 3 years, and keeping them engaged is not the easiest thing a lot of times. But I've never had a problem with that in one of my camps, even though they're not big in numbers, because we don't really put them out there like that on purpose, because we want to cater it to the top recruits that we're working with and guys that want to get better, want to improve, want to really become a top recruit and become NFL draft eligible one day and start having us write about you on College Football Today like we did Kyler. So I wrote about him mostly because he deserved it, in my opinion. Nick Bosa, on the other hand, I didn't see the body of work that Mel Kiper was so impressed about. 17 and a half sacks. Jalen Ferguson had 45 sacks, broke the NCAA record. He's out of Louisiana Tech. Had some off the field issues as a kid. Everything you do matters. We have to realize that too, especially if you want to be drafted, you want to go D1. You need to watch what you do off the field. He got a little scuffle at McDonald's. They disinvited him to the NFL Combine. And, it could have hurt his draft stock. Do I think he did? Nah, I think he broke the NCAA sack record, and he has some of the best technique you're going to watch coming off the edge. He knows how to use his hands extremely well. I've watched him hawk down ball carriers that are half his size down from behind from the DN as a hybrid position. The kid's one of the best in the draft. Now, that being said, Montez Sweat, Mississippi State, 4.4 coming off the edge, had an amazing Senior Bowl. I don't see how he doesn't go high in the NFL draft. I'd take him at tight end. I mean, if he could prove he could catch well. He's that great of an athlete, 4.4 off the edge. With a name like Montez Sweat, he'll make the quarterback sweat all day long. So you got to think about that when you're thinking about the draft and everything. Mississippi State, coming out of there, DK Metcalf, best over-the-top receiver right now being considered in the NFL draft for a great 40 time. 240. I mean, he's a big dude. The dude's like 6, and that's a great target for a guy like Kyler or somebody down the road. Maybe somebody gets 2 NFL first-round draft picks and gets both of them. Be fun to watch. He's big-bodied, but the best route running overall wide receiver in the NFL draft is little itty bitty Andy Isabella out of UMass. 4-8 last season, not a real good year. Look at the numbers. The man put his team on his back. Best route runner, and as predicted, ran one of the fastest times at the NFL Combine at an official 4.31, which the NFL released wrong at first, which I caught at a 4.5 something, but it was not official yet. Once they officially timed it and everything was laser done or whatever they do on the computers, he ran a 4.31. So little white boy, he's been fast his whole life. I got him going number 32 to the New England Patriots. N'Keal Harry, Arizona State, coached by Rob Likens. I played for him a little bit in Connecticut. A very good coach, very sound-minded. Herm Edwards. They got a receiver named N'Keal Harry, who I think he's a first-round talent. Most got him going later down the road, but great over-the-top guy as well. Obviously, Stanley Morgan out of Nebraska, Oklahoma, Marquise Brown, other great targets. I got Marquise Brown possibly going to the Cowboys and the Steelers. I'm flip-flopped on it because Cowboys bringing back Witten doesn't really take the need away for tight end. Know if he's going to be gone next year, probably, or play another year or two. Noah Fant, TJ Hawkinson out of Iowa. Iowa's just been producing tons of NFL draft talent. I'm very excited about the outlook on them, in the Big Ten this year. Their quarterback, too, at Iowa, he needs more attention. I think he's Stanley. He's an NFL caliber quarterback. We could see him go in the late rounds, maybe as an undrafted free agent. Iowa's got a lot of great players this year. Michigan obviously is going to be all over the draft. Alabama, Clemson, Clelin Ferrell coming off the corner. Clemson's best D-line ever. Won the national championship. Christian Wilkins, Dexter Lawrence. Those guys are in this year's draft. Alabama has what's considered Rex Ryan said Quinnen Williams is the best player on the defensive side of the ball in the 2019 NFL draft. I mean, it depends what you need and what you're looking for. If you want that whole A-gap stuffer like Casey Hampton was, 3-4 defense, going to control the line of scrimmage for you, your linebacker's going to roam free, and you need to build your defense. Quinnen Williams is the way to go in the A-gap. He is the best 3-4 nose in the NFL draft in 2019. So Rex Ryan's not off on that. Rex Ryan knows what he's talking about, obviously. He's been around for a while. Great man, great attitude, funny, very flamboyant defensive coach. I like those kind of guys. So, anyway, let's get back to more down the draft. Bosa, his brother is good. His brother was drafted high too. Did I see his brother in the Super Bowl? It's what I asked myself when I said, "Oh, why do they keep comparing him to his brother? Why when his brother didn't do jack against the Patriots? I mean, they held the Patriots to a low-scoring game, but I didn't hear his name. I didn't hear much. I know he was injured somewhat. It seems to be a common theme in the family: injuries all the time, just dropping out." What's the saying when the heat in the kitchen gets hot? I don't know.
Can't handle it.
Oh, you can't handle the heat in the kitchen. You need to get
heat.
Yeah, I've been talking too much. My mind's on the draft, but when you can't handle the heat in the kitchen, you gotta. But he's one of those players that, like, when the going gets tough, it's like, oh, I'm out. Well, I don't want that, man. I'm sorry, but I think he's a good player. I think mid-round pick would be my thing on my grade, so I wouldn't touch him in the first, overall 5 picks. But like I said, I believe the New York Jets will take him, or he'll be drafted number 2, just because he's gotten a lot of attention, a lot of hype. Just like we were talking with the college football recruits.
Important hype is, man. You can hype yourself into just about anything. NFL draft.
Well, you still have to be able to play. Bosa can play. He's made a lot of great plays on tape, and you can't deny that. But yeah, there's a lot of check marks, question marks, red flags, whatever you want to call them. Why did we do the NFL draft this year? I don't know. One day I was sitting doing college football today, and it was trending, and I wanted to explain the creation of college football today a little bit more when we're done wrapping up this video. really it came down to catching trends. And in order to do that, you have to study the Google Trends, right? So, and then you are able to SEO, search engine optimization, those things in the sidebar, on your website, different ways, and in the pictures, right? So you show up first and get our stuff seen a lot. Doing that for over a year now on the website, we're getting seen first on most search engines because our content's really good. It's different, it's informative, it comes from a football driven perspective, not a media driven perspective, and it was designed to create exposure for our recruits at Scout Trout Elite that we trained the last 3-4 years through this network that have all gone to college. We cover a lot of those guys, the guys that are deserving of awards are on our list, get awards like Marquez Brana out of Hershey High School from 17, won my NAIA Player of the Year award, was a true freshman, threw for over a lot of yards a game, was a leader, played really well against Grambling State, an FCS D1 team that I respect. I was down there at the Celebration Bowl last year, and he's done a lot of great things, and he's a D1 caliber player that's at the NAIA level. And I look at that, he's the player of the year in my book. So Oklahoma Panhandle State has a great program worth looking at. Joel Barbosa's in that program from that same class in 2017. His brother's with UTEP. His cousin's with UTEP, Trish Barbosa. Got a lot of players playing that we're trying to follow in the process, which has been fun. That's why we're going to make these videos and kind of condense it down really for us writing and putting it together. It's easier to talk about these kids, put a face to it, instead of a bunch of numbers, a bunch of algorithms, and all this mess that has been created. I think we're doing a good job of cleaning it up and bringing it back to what it should be. It should be about a competitive atmosphere. It should be about getting people better, treating people better, and not necessarily believing all these lists. You gotta believe in yourself first, because everybody else is after the same thing you are. So if you look at it that way, you gotta trust yourself first. And if you trust yourself and your family and friends, but really trust yourself in building your own process, your own way to greatness, your own philosophy, figuring out where you fit at the next level, where's going to be the best overall situation for you academically, athletically, socially, mentally, all that stuff. Because you got to leave home. You got to, you're just not going to be the same anymore. So make sure you fit in, make sure things are right. And that's what's great about our program. There's over 600 college football teams that you can play for through Scout Trout Elite that we send all of our information to, and we can track the analytics on who opens our emails and who's reading everything, blah, blah, blah. Crazily enough, over 70% of our viewership comes from college football. So that's why College Football Today rose so quickly, because I guess Google can tell who's visiting too, from the .edus and stuff like that. So all this stuff's tracked. All this stuff I've studied for the last 3-4 years. I feel like this is my senior year of college with Scout Trout and College Football Today. And I'm extremely excited for the future of all of us here at the program, at the company, Scout Trout Elite and College Football Today. We have a lot going on this weekend. It's going to be a big weekend. Houston Recruit Rankings Camp on the 27th, which is this Saturday. Can't wait for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Top O-line recruit Andrew Cervantes is coming in town tomorrow. Gabriel Means, top LB recruit, supposed to be there from 2020. And Jared Pickens, top athlete recruit. And then I got a list of a bunch of guys that have been filling out profiles that said they're coming. So we're making the camp for free for people in the Houston, Texas area. And then we're going to move on to South Carolina, Florida, Cali, and then back to Texas for San Antonio, or we might grab it back. And then I'm thinking about Ohio, Florida, definitely Florida after South Carolina. We've been talking to people in those areas, reaching out and finding facilities to run these camps for our youth. And
for a lot of reason, we'll touch on that real quick because that's kind of my job. A lot of reason these camps aren't announced, things like that, reserving them, sometimes the city doesn't like you to reserve too far in advance. So, like for instance, this one in Houston, Parks and Recreation didn't allow us to reserve it up until 2 weeks prior, and without that commitment of having a place reserved. It's really hard to promote something. So that's why if you look on our site right now, we've got some TBDs, some to be determined or to be announced, or
we're coming
on times. But yeah, we're looking into the fields right now. Currently, we've spoken with some cities, and they're excited to have us. That's the best part. Is the cities are like, we need people here recruiting, because guess what? Rivals 247. If you don't live in Texas, Florida, Atlanta, you're not getting. Nobody's finding you, and there's a reason.
No offense to Atlanta's great, but I'm just saying, yeah, there's a lot of major markets are where it's at for media companies, because there's more people. It's just logistics. But at the same time, that eliminates the rest of the pot, and there's a big pot, and it's all about your resilience. I talk a lot about that. You're gonna see some T-shirts coming out here soon with Bible verses and different things that are gonna speak to us in a different way on how we should see ourselves as top recruits, and just good people in general, and next level. It's time for the next level, and that's gonna wrap it up here at Prairie View, and we got a little library here. Yeah,
Greg, we definitely you gave us. Appreciate the use of your public library here and the study room.
Thank you for letting us use this. We appreciate it. It's gonna be a great video. College football today. We out. Step ratings. They're legit. They're real. I study. Rivals. What do you do?